Ubisoft hates single-player games, and Friends is finally coming back. That and so much more in our Entertainment RoundUp for the week. Let's get into it. How's it, guys? Welcome to That Freaking Geek. And if this is your first Entertainment RoundUp, welcome. Why don't you hit that subscribe button or that like button or whatever it is. But this is kind of an Entertainment RoundUp and covering three spheres. First being video games, and then we're going to cover some movie news and then some TV series news. So starting off with some video games news, like I covered in the beginning of this, does Ubisoft hate single-player games? Well, if their recent earning call kind of had anything to do with what the narrative is right now, they were basically saying that they want to focus on non-AAA games and rather focus on multiplayer games. Multiplayer games in the sense of free-to-play games, because there's a lot of money in that. And so kind of don't blame them, especially when you get something like EA, where I read somewhere that it said $400 million they made last year on just revenue from microtransactions. It's absolutely crazy. But kind of you go into it and you think about all the incredible games that Ubisoft makes, from Assassin's Creed to Far Cry to Prince of Persia. I don't think they're going to stop making games like that. I do, however, think that they're going to probably move back from it, probably not release as many Far Cry or as many Assassin's Creed games. Instead, they're going to focus on maybe The Division, making that an absolute free-to-play. There's an upcoming game that is also completely free-to-play that's going to be built from the ground up, thinking, hey, we're going to try and put as many microtransactions in this. So what? At the end of the day, it's all about money, and that's very sad. But luckily, there is awesome studios like the PlayStation studios who are doing awesome things out there. Talking about PlayStation, guys, yes, you probably can't get a PS5 out there. They're still very hard to get hold of. But in June, you can pre-order new colored controllers. There's going to be a very kiff black one and a very awesome red one. I'm probably going to get the black one, but mine, oh man, just look at them. Look how incredible they are. Let's just take a moment. They're beautiful, aren't they? What a cool trailer. It's so cool. But you know what? I was posting this on my stories the other day, and I was like, you know what, Sony, just take my money. And my brother replied to me, he said, you don't have any money. So I mean, he's probably right, but hey, I'm really excited to eventually, maybe one day, probably not in June, get my hands on one of those new controllers. There was a news story headline that said Resident Evil is too scary, and what the story was about basically was that Resident Evil 7 was so scary for some people that, as amazing as it was, a lot of people just outright stopped playing it. They said to themselves, no, I can't play this anymore. So come Resident Evil Village, they knew they had to kind of tone down how scary and terrifying it was. And I do think in the beginning of the game was not as intense as Resident Evil 7, when you had those Baker family members chasing you around the house. Now you have a big lady, vampire lady, kind of chasing you around the house, but this time not as scary, not as intense. I thought in the beginning, I was kind of worried that it would be that intense, but in the end I kind of figured, you know what, that's actually alright, because come the next part, it was probably the most scariest Resident Evil moments I've ever had. So you know what, I think they kind of balanced it way better so that people kind of get sucked into it, and then from then onwards they enjoy it. But talking about Resident Evil Village, my review is up for it, so why don't you go and click the link at the top of the screen. It should be coming up. Hopefully, you know, YouTube did the right thing and go watch it. But yeah, guys, I'm really excited for more Resident Evil stuff, but go take a look at my Village kind of review. Moving on to some movie news, we finally got our first look at the new Venom movie. Venom, Let There Be Carnage is kind of that movie where I thought I didn't know what's actually happening. I kind of, when the trailer came out, I was like, oh, this thing is still happening. So yeah, over a year after the events of the first Venom movie that came out in 2018, the investigative journalist Eddie Brock, starring Tom Hardy, struggles to adjust to life as the host alien symbiote who gives him superhuman abilities to become the lethal predator we all know as Venom. Brock attempts to reignite his career by interviewing a serial killer played by the incredible Woody Harrelson, who also becomes a host of a symbiote and escapes prison after a failed execution. Now, after watching that trailer, I kind of still don't know how good it's going to be. I'm a little bit hopeful because of Woody, but in the end, I guess we'll just have to see when it finally comes out in September. Michael Jordan is in Space Jam 2. Now, if you've watched the original 1996 movie, Michael Jordan was actually starring in the first movie, but this time it stars LeBron James as he picks up the ball and plays with Bugs Bunny and friends. So yeah, it is confirmed that Jordan will appear in some sort of capacity in this film, though not much is shared on how big of a role the Chicago Bulls legend will play. Fellow cast member Don Cheadle said that Michael Jordan is in the movie, but not in the way that you expect it. Space Jam: A New Legacy is set to come out this July in theaters. Now, once again, another kind of movie that I'm a little bit unsure of, but I'm still going to watch it nevertheless. Dave Bautista was offered a Fast and Furious role in one of the kind of upcoming movies, but he immediately went there, denied the role, and then asked to be in the new Gears of War film. They wanted to talk to me about Fast and Furious, he said, and I said, I'm not interested. Let's talk about the Gears of War film. I don't mean to offend anybody, but Bautista said, I'm not putting down anyone else, I'm just saying that it is way more interesting to me. I don't want to pretend like I'm actually interested in something I'm not when there's something I actually really am excited about. And you guys have control over that. Would you consider me for it? I don't think there's any harm in that. I'm not trying to step on anyone's toes, I'm just saying that this is what I love and I'm seriously passionate about this. I can do a good job for you guys on this. Now, Bautista said in the same interview that he thinks he might have put off a lot of those kind of executive producers, but I say, Dave, you go for it, bro. You don't go and do something you don't want to do. I think that's so honorable. Go for the roles that you're actually interested, not just in a role that'll get you money. Moving on to TV series news. First off, Rick and Morty, guys. If you know, I love me some Rick and Morty. My camera guy right now is rolling his eyes at me. I love it. It's great. And Showmax is officially confirming that we'll be receiving season 5. It's always great news when we South Africans get stuff at the same time as the US. Rick and Morty is one of the best and funniest TV series in the last decade. And so the fact that Showmax sees that is an absolute win. Starting the day after the US gets it, on June 21st, we'll finally get to see those zany characters again. Friends is finally coming back, and HBO gave us a small teaser trailer. Now guys, for years now, there has been videos out there of a reunion episode or finally Friends coming back, but you see all of them are fake. And I know there are people out there that share it thinking it's real. And if that's you, shame on you. Do your research and really make sure that that's real. But in this case, it's totally real, I promise. The reunion will include 6 cast members, which means all the OG members will be present, such as Rachel, Monica, Phoebe, Chandler, Ross, and Joey. This will be the first time the entire cast is back together on screen since the show wrapped all those years ago. The episode is called The One Where They Get Back Together. Problem, while the US is getting it on May 27th, here in South Africa, we have no idea when we'll be getting it. So as soon as we know, I'll let you guys know. So why don't you go and give me a follow on Instagram so you can know more about that, and give me a subscribe here on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. But thanks so much for tuning in to this Entertainment Roundup. Guys, it was so fantastic, and I'll see you on the next one.